I have On today's episode, I have Carter Russell. He is a men's mentor specializing in porn addiction, and it has been an interest of mine ever since I was a young guy. And learning from our discussions from Carter, he is doing some great things in helping men and getting over their porn addiction. Welcome, Carter.
Thank you, Tyson. Very excited to be here. I think a lot of people will resonate with this topic that we're going to talk about today, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This couple of discussions we've had outside of the podcast and the program and stuff that you've got going on for men. I think it's a very poignant time to be able to roll that out, and also just like being able to help guys realize that there is an answer to life outside of beating the meat, essentially. So, um, without more input than that, where did your interest peak in this situation? Was it a personal experience, or something that you've kind of had a interest in?
Yeah, so my journey with this probably started back in high school, really, where I started watching porn. It was very normal. I don't think I knew of someone who didn't watch it. And yeah, some days I would watch it 3 times a day. Like, and just I didn't even think anything about it. Like I just thought it was like going to the toilet. It's just something we do. Um, so yeah, I was using it a lot looking back. Used it from probably about age 12 or 13, up until 18. And one of my good friends now, he was just met, this is how I met him actually, but he was at the cafe and I was tapping my leg, like kind of moving a little bit, like maybe a bit ADHD kind of style. And he just said to me, "You watch porn, don't you?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he challenged me to do 3 days of no masturbation and no porn. And so I was like, okay, fine. I'll show you I can do that. I'm not addicted. Like, there's no problem here. And day two came around and I'm like hypersexual, like super out of control, really. Like, just like all I can think about is sex. I'm having cravings. It's just like so much more difficult than I thought it would be. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is a problem. This is something I want to beat. And yeah, so then began my journey. I did complete the 3 days, and then I kind of went back and was just doing it once a day, 2 days, once a day, 3 days, once a day, once a day. And eventually I saw another piece of information about it, which really, I wouldn't say excited, it more angered me. I was like, holy crap, like I've been so tricked here. And that led me on to challenging myself to 30 days. And my big motivator behind this was relationships as well. I hadn't had like a solid long-term relationship yet, and something I was really craving. So yeah, I made myself a 30-day calendar. I wrote some quotes out for each day. If I was struggling, I'd go and look at the calendar and then cross off each day. And yeah, I did my first 30 days, and I actually met a girl during that 30-day period. And by the end of that 30-day period, we'd been on 3 dates. So it was a pretty profound experience for me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and
awesome.
then after that 30 days, yeah, it was pretty wild how quickly that experience came to fruition once I removed something that was no longer serving me. Um, and then yeah, I then did a little bit more research into it and realized that you probably need about 90 days to really rewire and reboot your whole system. So I went abstinent for 90 days. That was from abstinent from masturbation, and I cleared porn out for about a year at that point, but abstinent for masturbation for about 90 days. And yeah, I just felt so great. I was so amazed at how different I felt. And so I've just been doing a deep dive on it ever since. And it's been about 2 years since I watched porn, and I've been studying this pretty in depth for about a year and a half now. So that's how I got to where I am.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's a bit of a journey, hey, as a young guy. Like, you think that's kind of especially when you're younger, you probably still haven't experienced too much of the female side of the anatomy, and it's so readily available just to go up onto a search engine and go and have a look at like some boobs, and then all of a sudden it turns into like vagina, and then there's like all the other stuff that goes along with it, and then you're like, oh well, and then there's that dopamine receptor that kind of kicks in. It's like, oh yeah, this is where I'm going to get my stuff from. And I know myself, like that was the kind of thing. Like I'm a little bit older than you. I grew up in the stage of where it was actually dial-up internet, and you you look on the porn website, and then all of a sudden the picture would start coming up, and it was all pixelated first up, and then it would slowly like reveal itself. And so many times where I would be looking at this and I'd be like, my mum's out, I've got to wait. Like I've got a window, she's gone down the street, I've got like a window of like 15 seconds or 15 minutes before she gets back. All right, I'll jump on the web, jump on. So there was this kind of like sneakiness, kind of allure to it. And then so like you'd wait and you'd be sitting there waiting, like with dick in hand, waiting. Hopefully, no one's going to walk in through the front door to like, and you're waiting for this picture to like pixelate and present itself, and you're like, so then you got to try and like, and then there's this receptive pattern that kind of plays out that like I've got to finish really fast, and I find that like that is also then is what I've done in research and stuff as well, is like that neural pattern that we're playing out as men, that we've got to really finish fast, then starts to play out in our relationships and stuff as well, because like that is how we've become conditioned to sex and our place in that whole take. And that for me, my personal journey, that played out quite a lot in a lot of my relationships. It's like really fast, like I'm not saying it's like been really fast, but fast to finish rather than and finishing before the female. So that's been a work for me to get back from that, to allow the whole journey to actually take place rather than just going bang bang bang, I'm done, and then the female, my partner, hasn't had any pleasure or anything from that. So yeah, I really wholly and solely like porn is just one big kettle of fish to unravel men on so many different levels. And I'm sure you've probably got some sort of thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we're this generation, mostly Gen Z, probably with the fast internet speed, is definitely suffering more. And it's because, as you said, you had to wait for a picture to load. And that's like you're taking your time to look at one picture. That is so much less than what we're dealing with today. Like we're dealing with people who can jump on the internet and look at 10 different women having sex in like multiple different unrealistic ways within 5 minutes. And that's like with me, like I said, I use it 3 times a day. It was probably about 10 minutes each time. Whereas if I had to spend 10 minutes looking at one image, the impacts on the brain would have been so different and so much less damaging. And I also think I relate a lot to what you said with, the quick ejaculation, premature ejaculation, sometimes it's called. And I struggle with that too. I struggled with that too. And I think it was from like these quick masturbation sessions, just training my whole nervous system to be like, like we're supposed to come in 3 minutes. And then I'm like, well, why when I'm with the woman, can I not hold it for more than 2 minutes? So I had to unravel that whole part too, like learning. I had to teach myself how to masturbate for 40 minutes so that I could really bring that and have sex for that long too, so that I could really reprogram that. And I think, yeah, I mean, sexual dysfunctions caused by porn is only skyrocketing. It's actually erectile dysfunction is up 3,000% since fast internet porn.
I would be, I haven't looked into it, but you might have looked into it. It'd be interesting to see when the little blue pill arrived, being the Viagra and Cialis, when they arrived around the same time of porn. I haven't looked into it, but it's just kind of knowing full well of like how certain industries benefit from certain dysfunctions. I would be interested to see whether there's any kind of correlation to X and Z. So have you ever looked into that kind of the pharmaceuticals and having a look at whether that's actually been a correlation to that? Because obviously we know with Pfizer, well, I'm not sure, probably shouldn't have said that, with Cialis and with Viagra, the that helps with erectile dysfunction. It helps with not being able to get it up. And then what we're talking about here with porn, helping you finish really fast, there's this kind of thing that helps one and the other. And where I'm leading to with this is like this whole cycle that's being played out is just furthering men or removing men from themselves and further removing them from their power, because then they're disempowered from their actual vitality. So like if you think about it in a yogic sense, like your vitality is in your manhood, and when you're blowing it out everywhere and you're not holding it in and actually containing it and using it for good, you lose your power, you lose your seed. And I know myself that I did begin to feel like, obviously, training a lot, I would feel like, not that I wasn't as manly, but when I'd had these moments where I wasn't actually like wanking heaps and masturbating heaps, I would actually feel like on top of the world. I was fully charged. Obviously, testosterone levels were able to continue to increase, and I wasn't blowing it out everywhere. And I was actually respecting a lot of other women. I was respecting women because I wasn't actually just going out and just trying to like bang everyone. I was actually happy with who I was in that moment. And where I'm leading to is like, do you think that this way of porn addiction and stuff like that has taken men away from their true masculinity and their actual full manhood?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I would probably call myself maybe quite feminine in traits when I was going through high school with my other relationships. It was quitting porn that really drove me to like, I started working out for me rather than so I could look good, so I could get more chicks. I started doing the ice baths. I started doing the breath work. I started really like trying to make more money, trying to better myself, trying to just become this high value man. And it wasn't, I couldn't have done that with porn in my life, which is why one of the things I preach when I help clients through this is you can't quit porn and keep living the life that you were living, which is, it sounds like a negative thing, but it's super positive, because it's like you quit porn and then all of a sudden you just chase more ways to better yourself, and you notice habits that aren't serving you. So yeah, porn definitely damages men as a whole, and as you said, the power and the energy has a whole big element which we can get into, but it also affects pair bonding, as you said. Like if you can't get your penis hard when you're with a woman, you're not going to really want to have sex. It's embarrassing, it's shameful. People feel shame, at least. And same with the premature ejaculation. Like 3 minutes is not enough time to connect with someone on a deep level. Sure, there's other ways you can do that, but porn, I think, there's so many statistics that talk about sexual satisfaction with partners. There's like diminished results. There was actually a few tests done on this, and it makes a lot of sense. Like if you can go and get your quick fix from porn, you're not going to want to try and foster a healthy relationship, because in that you have to put in effort, you have to put in time, you have to learn how to communicate, you have to better yourself. It's like, well, I'm not going to do all that. I can just go get off on the internet in about 3 minutes, So it's definitely disrupting the unit. And I think we're seeing a lot of that too, represented in the sleeping around, which, sure, we all go through stages like that, and if that's what you want to do right now, then so be it. But I've found true power comes from a connection and fostering that connection and building that family unit as well, which is something again that has changed since I've stopped watching porn. So yeah, I think it's definitely got a lot to answer for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like, and we could pull any thread on this, but it's like the advent or the invent of dating apps and stuff like that also has begun as kind of that. You've got the porn that's kind of disempowering people from their true connection to self, but then also then creating this falsity in their head that that is what sex occurs. And then you've got the like I was on dating apps and just I'd sit there in the gym in between sets just going no 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 yes no no and just and that would be my that I got the nickname Tinder Tyson in the gym because I just sit there just on Tinder trying to have Tinder dates. And like, but then that was then leading into, and that was an addiction in itself, like 3 or 4 different dates in the week, not actually, like you said, having true connection with the girl, and then disappearing or them disappearing, and then they're doing another date, and then you'd actually go, I actually really like this girl, but like she's gone to someone else, and so it's just this kind of again this dopamine. It's everywhere, but you're not actually getting that true connection and actually that physical connection to each other and building that. And it wasn't until I got rid of the apps, got rid of the porn and all of that sort of stuff, and actually really started to work and be happy with myself. And like like your journey is like stopping the masturbation, and much like you is actually teaching yourself to go a lot longer and being able to be okay with just not coming. Like that's the point where you come and that, yeah, cool. Yeah, sweet. All right, let's move through it and go. Because that's the other thing is like you don't always have to ejaculate to, and if you can walk through it and go, yeah, this is good. Like I actually charged, um, it it's a whole lot different. And when I began to do that and actually got in charge with like my own power, then I began to actually start to. I know that's probably which when I met Emma, I was realizing I was like, yeah, this is completely different. And when you meet someone else that's like on that same level who values that as well, then you have that true connection. And there's so many different layers to this that, but like I think sometimes it comes back down to that fear of not having someone, so then having a bunch of different people to potentially choose from. And then the same thing with like the porn is like, well, I don't know whether I'll ever be able to get someone like that, so I may as well just watch it because like that's like that chick's so hot. Like I could bang her in my brains, but rather than if I actually worked on myself, I could probably find someone who really lit me up inside. And that's kind of and that's what I did when I found Emma. Like I'm not sure, and I'm probably like just listening to your story then before is with your partner. Like she showed herself, and then there was a person that you've formed a true connection with. So do you feel like in your work that you're doing at the moment, how do men break the cycle? How do them like men, or what sort of advice do you give men that could potentially be listening to this or are listening to this who are deep in the porn hole and needing to try and realize that they need to come out?
Good question, and there's a lot of different ways I can answer this. But just to touch on the pair bonding as well, I think a lot of the time you don't really like. A lot of people say to me, "Oh, I'll stop watching porn when I get a girlfriend," and it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And I think I didn't end up staying with that partner who I first met on my 30 days, but I the partner I'm with now, I knew her for about a year, and I this is when I wasn't watching porn. I really liked her. I just had this really strong energetic connection that I wasn't tapped into before. It was all physical, like, oh, she's got this kind of butt. She like that's a great kind of that's a great partner because she's physically attractive. This part, she was physically attractive, but that's not what I felt. It was like, oh, this feels right in my body, and I knew that. And it was 8 months before we got together. I asked her out about 4 times. We were really good friends, and I think she's got quite a feminine essence, and I think she was just she was really she didn't her women's feelings aren't like men sometimes. Like they need to know that I'm here. So I showed her for 8 months that I'm here. I'm like, I'm here. I like you, and this is it. And I think that was really, I wouldn't have done that in the past. I would have just watched porn and gone, okay, we'll bugger her. She doesn't want to date me. I'll just watch porn. Whereas I kept showing up, and now we've fostered such a beautiful relationship. So just wanted to share my experience on that as well. For men trying to quit porn, yeah, I think a lot of people discover it's harder than what they're expecting. If you look at addiction, usually it's something outside of yourself. So, an alcoholic needs to stay away from alcohol. But if they have one sip of alcohol, then they usually end up in a big relapse. It's similar to porn, but the problem is the chemicals are already within you. So I could sit here now, close my eyes and think about porn and get an urge because the chemicals start firing off in my brain. The dopamine starts going off like, oh, yes, that would be really fun. Let's go watch porn. So it can be hard because you're 2 seconds away from having your first sip of alcohol, if that makes sense. So the first thing we do is a little bit of an avoidance kind of thing, which I hate that word because, we should never avoid. But at the start, it can be so tough that we just need to go, okay, when do I watch porn? Okay, it's every time before I go to bed. And I can't get to sleep unless I watch porn. So it's like, okay, well, then no more phone in your bedroom past 8 o'clock. And you need to learn how to do some sort of mindfulness or some sort of relaxation so you can go to sleep and learn to relax healthily. So it's about identifying all these different triggers. When do you watch porn, and removing as many of them as you can because the urges are tough. And then it's about coming up with like a bulletproof plan for your urges. So when I feel the urge to watch porn, I'm going to go and have a cold shower. That's a common one. I'm not saying that should be the only solution, but that could be one of the things you integrate in your urges. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to go for a jog, or I'm going to go out of the house because when I'm out of the house and socializing, I don't feel the same urge. And so you kind of come up with these different ways you can manage the urges. And then it's about, goal setting and working out what life do you want to live so that you can use those urges and that energy, because it's such a potent, strong energy, to direct it at your goals, to direct it at the life you want to live. So it's like, oh, I'm feeling an urge to watch porn. I'm going to go and work on this creative project and just like really channel that concentration, that energy into that project. And if you want to get a little bit voodoo, like the ancient Taoists, it creates another baby. So they believe it's like a really strong creative force. That's why people report higher levels of creativity and focus. And so that's something big. They actually did a study recently that showed porn addiction wasn't about being horny or wasn't even about sex. It was about and they looked at the characteristics of people who the most common porn addiction person, and they were the most common variable was meaninglessness. So it's about learning to bring in meaning. What do you find joy in? What do you find meaningful? And how can you replicate a life where you do more of that? That's kind of the first stage. Then the second stage is we address sexual dysfunction. So a lot of people who are struggling with erectile dysfunction or not really feeling pleasure during sex because they're used to this really tight kind of hand grip, and a woman's vagina isn't as tight as your squeezed fist. So we're learning to let the brain rewire itself, because a lot of arousal actually comes from the mind. So if you're used to watching 6 girls having sex at once, 6 beautiful women all get thrown around in the bedroom, and then you're coming back to this partner who always is the same person, and it's not, for your brain, unfortunately, it's not as enticing. So you're not as aroused by this one partner, which is really sad because there's great potential to be explored in that one partner, and the arousal can, the ancient Taoists believed that 60 was the year that they started having the best sex of their lives. So it's like there's always potential to grow in a monogamous relationship. So it's about that. And then we also start talking about, communication so that you can talk to someone about it, whether it's your partner. I really, really, really suggest talking to your partner about it. Bringing in a bit more of healthy masculinity, more practices. And then in stage 3, we start looking at the beliefs. Like, you will not watch porn without validating it to yourself first, which is wild because no one knows that they validate it. A lot of the time with myself, I used to think, I quit the Pornhub and the main videos like straight away, but I thought I classified OnlyFans as not porn. That was my validating belief. Oh, it's okay to watch this because it's not porn. Bullshit. Sorry, bullshit. Even looking at sex scenes during movies, that is a form of porn. I did that too. Oh, I'm watching a movie. No, you're not. You're skipping to the sex scene and then jerking off over it. That's a form of porn. So it's about looking at the validating beliefs. A lot of people have, oh, it's not that bad. Everyone does it. So you kind of bring those validating beliefs to the surface and then write out, are they true? And try and find everything you can for if it's true. And then once you discover it's not true, because porn doesn't add value to anyone's life, you begin to notice them next time they pop up. Oh, it's okay, you can watch it because it's not that bad. It's like, hang on, no, I know that's not true. So kind of removing those beliefs, integrating healthy sexuality. You cannot just suppress this. It is such a powerful force. You cannot just go monk mode and go, okay, I'm just never going to masturbate again. Let's get on with my life. If you are going to go abstinent till marriage or some sort of crazy, not crazy, but like big goal like that, then you need to be doing, weekly, daily qigong, moving exercises to get the energy and the blood out of the testicles. Otherwise, you're going to be hyper focused on sex, horny and sore down there. So helping people bring the energy up or learning when is a good amount of time to release. So I have a partner at the moment, so we have sex and I try to maybe release about once a week. Doesn't mean I only have sex once a week, but I try to only ejaculate once a week because I'm a 20-year-old man. And the older you get, the least frequent you should be ejaculating, but it's different for everyone. So learning your ejaculation schedule in a sense, and then trying to work out what was porn giving you, healing the actual wound, because porn is a drug. The way it works in the brain, it attacks the sex center, which is cocaine and I think heroin. They hijack the sex center too. So it's like tapping into such a powerful reward. So it's about, what are you masking? Sometimes I would have a fight with a feminine energy, whether it be my mom or my sister, and then I'd feel quite detached from the feminine. So I'd seek the feminine energy in porn, which a lot of men do. So it's like healing your relationship with maybe the feminine, or maybe you have feelings of isolation as well, boredom. So trying to kind of heal those and move through those is also a big step. So that's kind of a bit of a rundown of what we look at during the 6 weeks you work with me too. But I hope that can help people.
That's cool. Like, and just the many layers that you work through, like it's a full journey. I know myself with drug addiction and stuff like that, going cold turkey, it's hard to go cold turkey and actually know that, and putting these systems and processes in place, the knowing when there is that urge that comes on. And like, I know when I was heavily addicted to drugs, there was certain times in the day where I got to get it, or I've got to ring someone up to make sure that by 4 o'clock that we're going out and hitting the beer. So I know that by 8 o'clock that I'm going to be having like my first line of Coke or whatever it was, or even just waking up with it, having like a plate of cocaine next to me on my bedside table, so I could roll over and have cocaine in the morning. So it's the same thing as like with the masturbation and stuff like that. It's just like, once you can kind of really work out, okay, this is this process that's taking place. Like, I know even with myself, when I started to click onto it, it was like after a workout, I'd be feeling really charged up, and then be like kind of on the phone trying to talk to someone, and like G up a date or something like that, just so I could go out on a date to get what I needed. Yeah, and it's just having a lifetime of an addictive personality. You can kind of begin to see that like this is also now playing out in this. Like this is now an addictive personality that's now playing out in this. Now, how can I actually, like you've said, like through your stages of your program, then actually begin to kind of actually acknowledge it, but then utilize that its power for your own power, for your own internal power to actually grow. And that was for me, that was a game changer when I started to really do that. Emma and I, like by the time I met Emma, our sexual relationship was through the roof because I actually had true connection with myself, and I actually was not just going bouncing from one to the next. And my story is much like yours. It's like um, it was quite a few. It was like 5 or 6 months of just kind of showing up and being and like showing Emma that I'm here. She tried to push me away so many times, like, and tested me. Like, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm going to be traveling the world. I'm not going to be here. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And like, and would come back, and I'm like, I'm still here. I held the masculine. I'm like, I'm still here. I still want to be, want to be around you. And there's not one point in time then did I feel like I needed to be looking at any other like dating app or anything like that, because I knew, because I was like, this is where I need to be right now. Hold it, because you're actually feeling good. Like, hold it. And then yeah, that's when I actually began to look more into tantric practices. So tantric practices are of holding the ejaculation and actually utilizing that power and that energy for a sustained effort, but then also utilizing it so you can actually create like higher states of consciousness that allows you then to actually be open to a lot more of like whatever you want to really put your mind to. And that's where I feel like, yeah, your program there kind of it's doing that. It's allowing men to pull it all down. And here's a practice of actually being able to utilize your power for the better. And it becomes a superpower when you actually realize that, oh, I don't have to do this. I can utilize what I'm doing, my manliness, for good. And what are some tools and stuff that you're like that you would give men for to be able to harness that energy? Like, what are you guys like? What are you giving them? Is it the meditation, tantra? What is the kind of the when they're now beginning to actually get to that point of their program where they've pulled it back and they're now looking to begin to harness their energy and utilize it for good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that's something that I left out a lot in my journey. So upon doing research and own experience with, different types of blue balls and things, I had no other chance. It was like either I ejaculate now or I'm going to be in pain, or I do something about this energy. So I wasn't ejaculating. So yeah, it depends on how far along the scale you are. Some people might not even believe energy is a thing, right? And then there's other people that kind of believe it but don't have much experience with it. And then there's like people who are witches and wizards and use it day to day and day. So it kind of depends. But for people who don't have much belief in the energetic work, I talk about just every time you think about sex, or every time you think about porn, which will be a lot when you're coming off this, or a lot if the energy's stuck down in the lower parts of the body, then just put an X through that vision, move it to the side of your brain, and then bring up what you want to be thinking about, whether that's, fostering a new relationship or working on a project you find meaningful, because where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're constantly attentive on sex, then that's where your energy is going to be in your body. Whereas if you're more towards your goals, then that you're going to be transmuting that transmuting that energy towards your goals just by changing your awareness. So that's one of the tools. The other tools more are tantric practices. I've read a few books about this. One of the great books I've read was The Multi-Orgasmic Man by Mantak Chai.
Yeah.
Really good book. And there's some great practices in there if anyone wants to go deeper into this. But yeah, it's about, you can put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and just squeeze all the muscles around your anus and the pelvic floor, and just imagine, even if you feel nothing, because you'll be surprised at how potent the imagination is. Imagine it going up your spine, into your head, and then down into your belly, and it's just like bringing that up and down, and it's really quite calming. And then I think the first few times I did this, I was like, it wasn't really doing anything, and then now when I do it, my spine shoots up and my eyes go forward, and I just feel like this kind of yeah yeah.
So
So that's
yeah, for anyone listening, it's like a Kundalini experience where you're drawing the energy up your spine, that's the energetic centers, and it moves up. So it's like the serpent that rises from below up into your head and then moves around you. So that's obviously a little bit more woo-woo for some people, but that's kind of what the yogic philosophy or tantric philosophy would be. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's a good one. And the other one, like for people who aren't into maybe the more woo-woo stuff, even just exercise, just pumping the body around and just breathing sometimes can be transmuting of it. But the more potent stuff does come from more of this yogi, tantric and Taoism philosophy. So even have a look at a few Taoist teachers. It's spelled Tao or Dao, and they always swore by not ejaculating during sex, but still, even men still having
Mm.
multiple orgasms without ejaculating. And rather than there's a peak of it from men who have experienced this. It's like the peak of ejaculation's here, and then you come down, you crash at this like lower tired part, whereas the multi-orgasmic kind of goes up like this, gets to the peak of where your ejaculation is, and continues to grow, and then you finish with all this energy
Mm.
rather than feeling depleted. You can have sex that's energizing. So while I haven't had a whole body orgasm like they may say, I have been able to retain during sex, feel sexually satisfied. Like I'm no longer horny. I've had my connection, I have had sex, but I haven't ejaculated.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
have experienced that. And even that is quite rewarding, but it takes a lot to get there because the program is deep, like deep, deep, deep. It's in like the first time you learn to masturbate was, which is necessary. Everyone must. There's no shame around masturbating. You must learn, but you get off, and then you keep doing that. You keep doing that. You keep ejaculating. Then you watch the movies, and the men ejaculate, and the porn, the men ejaculate. It's like men don't always have to ejaculate
Mm.
to feel pleasure.
That's one thing I want to touch
So
on. It's like, because we're talking about not masturbating and stuff like that, and there is a whole world of like self-exploration and do this, and like you have to be able to express yourself, like explore yourself to be able to be sexual and stuff. And I feel like, where is your like, that's the thing, is like, where do we then draw the line of actual self-exploration and knowing who you are, like knowing your body to the point of where you're then just kind of turning it into a game, or just like getting that rush. Like what's your perspective on that?
yeah, so I actually did a bit of work with a sexologist a couple months back, and she was kind of talking to me about my ideas about masturbation. And I think there was, just from all the work and the stuff I'd read, there was a bit of shame around masturbation. I didn't feel like masturbating ever. Like I just felt like releasing during sex, and that was it. Um, she encouraged me to maybe do some self-exploration, which I very kind of hesitantly did. But I would ask the question of, is watching porn and masturbating the same way you do every single day exploration?
Mm.
I don't think that's exploration. That's just repetition. If you are, however, going, okay, well, I'm going to see how I feel for a week, and then I'm going to try and masturbate without porn and feel how it feels throughout my whole body. Like that's a healthy practice.
Mm.
Maybe you don't need to do that every day, but it's like learning. Maybe if you do choose to release or not, if you choose to pleasure, just trying different things. Today I'm going to try and set a timer for 20 minutes, and I'm going to masturbate or pleasure myself for 20 minutes, and I'm not going to ejaculate. And then I'm going to do some breath work after it. and then I'm going to see how I feel in the afternoon. That's exploration because you're doing something new.
Mm.
So I think a level of experimenting and exploration is helpful, especially if you're trying to wean yourself off porn and reprogram your way around sex so that you can find a way that works for you. You know, everyone's so different, and we're taught this one style that's really not optimal. So finding a version that's optimal for you is definitely encouraged. Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's the worst thing also, because a lot of society puts the taboo on sex in itself, like because it should only be you don't talk about it. Like we get a lot of people messaging us like, how do you guys still have sex with a child in your bed? Because it's like we do co-sleeping and like and because then it's like you have to have sex in bed, like that's the only place that you can have sexual relations. Like how do you then, and it's the same thing as like we're told that like masturbation is bad, we're told that you shouldn't like do it, and depending on like kind of religions and stuff that you're in, like that's the way that they think. So it's this kind of breaking down of that taboo that you can't explore yourself, but then do it in a way that is actually harnessing your energy, harnessing what, and for, like you said, like a kind of a trained purpose, exploring yourself. Because the other thing is like, for anybody listening out there, when you know what really pleasures you, what you know that really like makes you feel good, we're in a good communicative relationship. You can then communicate that to your partner to say, I really like this. Like I really liked it when I explored this the other day. I really like it when I take it really slowly and do a form of massage on myself. Would you be able to do that for me? Because then your partner can do it for you. And it's the same thing for any ladies listening. If you know deep down like how you like to be touched, and you're open to telling your partner, this is how I really like to be touched. And then if your partner is open to hearing that rather than going, no, I've seen a porno and I have to just go and jackhammer you, like, and that's the way. But if you can kind of begin to start to communicate to each other, go, this is how I really like to be touched. I know like this. Oh, yeah, cool. So then each person is able to reach a point of arousal that both of them are feeling fulfilled, because they've actually then allowed themselves to be in that space by themselves to then bring that together in a union as such, and actually be able to experience the whole sexual experience together. And that's where we're coming back onto the waves of arousal. Like both of our children have been, like if they ever listen to this podcast, have been created on those waves of arousal. Like it just continues and continues and continues and continues and continues up. And then at some point for myself, I was just like, holy shit, the whole world is exploding, and it just explodes, you know. But at that point in time, Emma had finished 2 or 3 times, and then I was just like, and then that was deep love. And the 2 children that we've conceived are being conceived from really deep love and passion, because we've been able to like move, and I was able to move through those rides without going completely berserk early on and just pumping and dumping essentially. So yeah, I feel that breaking down of those taboos and kind of self-exploration taboos that society does tend to put on us in a way that it's a kind of a dirty thing to do, and allow it to actually be a nice process. Like it doesn't have to be shunned, but like obviously doing it out in the living room while everyone else is having dinner might be a different story. But it's like having a moment to be able to do that by yourself, where you don't feel dirty, where like that's the other thing. When I used to was watching porn, like you'd finish and I'd actually feel dirty. Like that was the point for me when I was like, this is enough for me. Like I feel shame when I finish. Like that's not like I'd turn the porn off. I'm like, yeah, I'm done with you. And I'm like, this isn't healthy anymore. This isn't good. Like it was never healthy. So I was like, that's time for me to move on from that. And um yeah, so any thoughts with that? I kind of gone around and been back, but have you got anything to add on to that one?
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. Beautiful what you said with how you and your partner have conceived. That's exactly the way I think, children should be conceived, in the way that we should be having sex. And you've got there through a lot of self exploration and a lot of, like, I imagine, quite a long journey. So I think as well, we need, yeah, as you said about the taboo, we need to stop putting this taboo around sex and masturbation and men's sexual energy. Like, if your children go to school, like, I mean, good luck with that sex education. Good luck, especially today. It's so so it's just getting worse and worse, I think, too. So it's like, start talking to your son whenever each parent feels they're ready, like even at a young age, about maybe not too young because they won't know anything, but when they start becoming sexual, which is like for children, for boys, it's like, I mean, most people find porn at 11 or 12, so
Mm.
it's about that age, which is quite young. But yeah, just like an honest conversation, like, oh, sexual energy is actually this really potent force that can be doing this and this, and then it also does this, and just kind of opening their minds at a young age that wham bam thank you ma'am is not the only way we need to be having sex. Like, it doesn't just need to be boom 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 ejaculate. There's such a world out there that men can utilize. And I think you touched on the masturbation element as well, and being able to talk to your partner about what you want. I think masturbation for men and women are very completely different things. They should both be explored, but women should, well, can, not should, there's no such, I don't want to use that word, can just go ham, just absolutely, like, let pleasure yourself as much as you desire, and find out what you do like. I think a lot of women, we preach bringing communication into sex to improve sex lives, but I've had experiences before in the past where I've asked my partner, "What do you like? What do you want?" And they're like, "I don't know." It's
Mm.
like, well, and I think that's part, like, there's a big orgasm gap at the moment. Men get off way, way, way more than women do, which is a lot. Like, there's a lot of work the men need to do in that. Don't get me wrong, but women, get clear on what you like and then communicate that as well.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
there's a great opportunity there for anybody who's listening who's in a partnership. But if the partner doesn't know, then there's that opportunity to, rather than the guy just going in there and going ham, let's explore it. Let's explore it together. You know, like we're able to then go and, like, why don't we try some massage? Why don't we try this tonight? And then see where that goes. And there's no expectation of me trying to finish. We just want to allow you to kind of experience it, or allow each other to experience it, and then eventually someone might go, oh, this is the spot, and then you're able to actually allow that to occur, and then you okay, that's what I really like. Okay, let's work on this. Let's work on this a little bit more, or let's touch on this and go a little bit deeper. And soon, like, you have, and then you actually, what you're doing in a partnership, you're then building that deeper connection, because then you're actually getting to know each other's body a lot deeper than what you would be with just kind of being told what to do. Because I've also been in a relationship before where a girl was literally like, it was really like, it was off-putting for me, because it was like, no, do it this way, no, do it that way, no, this angle, this angle, this angle. Oh, no. I'm like, this isn't doing it for me, because it's like, I am now just like a tool for you to, like, get the right angle, and it's just awkward because, like, every 2 seconds, and it was just like, for myself as a male, it was like, I now feel inadequate because I'm just really, you're just bossing me around, and I don't really feel like that. So there's that kind of that dance between two people that needs to occur. But any, like, what I want to kind of come back to is your program. And
Mhm.
so you said you've got your stages, and how does that look? Is that what time frame is that over for people, and what do they like? How do they then begin to access it, and what are they doing for throughout throughout that time?
Yeah, awesome. So at the moment, it's a 6 week program, and that was a number based off, how much effort I think most people would want to give in, and 6 weeks can be a lot, but like 9 weeks can be even more. But it's also a great time for you to start to really feel the effects of your brain changing, and to be able to set up for success for the rest of the rewiring process if you choose to do that. So they say for healing sexual dysfunctions and your arousal and the wiring of the brain, it takes about 30 to 90 days. That's the most common part. So for about 6 weeks is about 42 days. And I think that's a great time frame to really be able to see change and feel change. So that's why it's 6 weeks at the moment. I take people through one-on-one or group sessions as well. So I'm just starting. I've got a little in my bio. I've got a sign up link where you can sign up to be a part of the group session, which I think will be really powerful, because when men are in a group together going through the same thing, it's like you've got, and it'll be a small group, so 4 to 6 people, and you'll be in a telegram with all those people. And if you're struggling, you've got 5 other people going through the same thing. So you can send a message, and you go through it together, which can be exactly what someone needs who's isolated and feels shameful about their porn use. So that's the magic with the group thing. Both programs will have 6 calls with me. So a weekly call with me where we talk strategy, we talk about what's happened during the week, we talk about exercises and future goal planning. So yeah, it's a call with me to kind of check in, but then I also give you exercises to practice over the week, and then next week we check in. You get messaging in between sessions with me. If you're going through something quite urgent or hard, you can reach out. I'll give you my Telegram, and we're in a chat where I can help you. And I'm also in the stage of building what's called a motivational calendar. So just like my experience where I built myself a calendar, I've tried to replicate that on a larger scale. So there will be a program where each day you get a message for 30 days. And there'll be a little message, not like 2 lines, and then a quote. So a quote that I feel is relevant to this addiction, which can be a little bit of a spiritual sugar rush, it gets you pumped, but then doesn't last long. But sometimes in times of hard urges, that's what you need to get through it. So it'll be a quote each day, and then a fact about porn addiction or porn use. And then there's little journal prompts and activities in that. So that will go for 30 days. And then at the end of the 30 days, I'm building it so that I'm getting a sexologist on there to help men learn how to have sex with a woman in a new way, like how to break the programming from porn and integrate this new one. So there'll be about an hour conversation on there, and she'll even get out she's got a little vulva cushion, so you can talk about the different parts of the vagina, and it's like really trying to bring that brain back to healthy sexuality. And there's going to be a few other guests, like a relationship expert, and maybe I'm trying to get a qigong guy on there to teach you how to circulate this energy. So that's included in the program. They're all private and confidential calls, and you get a lot of goal setting tasks as well. So it's not like this program is just remove porn. Okay, tick, done. You've stopped watching porn. It's like, because that doesn't work. Good luck removing porn and not changing anything else. It'll be really, really hard. So it's about quitting porn and taking your life closer to where you want it to be. So that's a rundown of the mentoring I offer at the moment, which is really exciting. I've seen some good results already, and it just brings me so much joy to be able to bring this to the world, because it was something so healing for me, and to be able to pass that on is absolutely an honor.
Yeah, it's been cool to have the initial discussions that we've had with each other, and then seeing the people that you've worked with inside the group that we're in, that have come and had a discussion with you, and seeing that they've already identified in themselves that they need help. So what you're doing is obviously it's gold for men, and So if anybody is listening, where can they access that? How can they access you?
Yeah, the best way would be to go through my Instagram, which is just at Carter Russell with an underscore. Um, hopefully it doesn't become tricky to find me. I know that obviously because I talk a lot about porn, I'm being shadow like I have fears of shadow bans and different suppressing, but I've got the blue tick, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, so and then in my bio I've got all my links. So the group mentorship forum sign up is in there, and then my 6 week one-on-one program or just the one-off calls are in there too. And I'm going to put my motivational calendar in there when it's done, which I'm really excited about because like I think your own experience is so powerful. So to be able to duplicate that in a way, like to be able to take something that's really helped me and make it something bigger and more effective, I feel really excited to share that with people.
Right. And your 6 week course runs on cohorts, so it's running soon, and then another one down the track. So people
Well,
jump.
yeah, at the moment I do one-on-ones whenever you want. If you want to book in today, we start the 6 weeks today. But the group sessions, obviously, because you need a build up of 4 to 6 people in there, I'll have a Google link, and then probably certain dates in each month I'll start the group ones. At this point it's just you sign up, and then if I get 2 or 3 people I'll say here's the date.
Great.
So yeah.
Good on, man. Well, mate, I want to be conscious of your time, and thank you so much for coming on board. Obviously, everybody's already heard where they can reach you. Is there anything last little bits and pieces that you want to leave the listener with?
um yeah, for anyone questioning or saying I'm not addicted to porn, it's not a problem. That people jump up at the word addiction. I'm not an addict because there's a bit of a stereotype around addicts and being linked to a needle. So someone struggles to put themselves in the box of an addict if they're watching porn. So take that box away, take the word addiction away, try and quit porn for 3 to 7 days. See how you feel. If it's really hard, ask yourself, is that something that you want to be hard? Ask yourself if your life is your sexual relationship, career, motivation, your happiness levels, are they where you want it to be? If not, if the answer is no to any of those questions, why not give it a go? See if you can do 30 days. Take it all as far as you can. And if you get to 90 days without porn, or you get to a certain amount of time without porn and you haven't felt any impacts, and sure, go back to porn. So be it. But I think you'll find that it's quite a powerful tool to be able to move on from this habit. So yeah, that's
Or
my
reach out
closing.
to Carter, and he'll guide you along the way.
Yep. That's it.
All
I'll
right,
take you
brother.
there.
Well, thank you for joining me today. That's much appreciated, and that's been such an awesome chat to have you on board and have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Tyson. It's my first podcast I've done. So thanks for inviting me on and being such a great host. I love talking about this stuff, and I think it's really great that you're talking about this topic on your podcast. So thank you.
Awesome, bro. Well, I'll have to have you on again soon. See how everything else is going in the future.
Amazing. Thanks, Tyson.